we're going to start it today. We're just going to go
Do it. I feel like that scene from Super Troopers with the syrup.
Do it. All right, we're live. We should probably actually do the episode here. This is episode number 28, even though Andrew always disagrees with me on that. But yeah,
right,
you got. Well, you know what? I'm going to show your name there, Andrew, from Realty Edge.
I feel fancy today.
So Andrew is a property manager, associate broker at Realty Edge, manages over 120 doors, and we got a few questions for you today. For anyone not familiar with how Ask a Property Manager works, Andrew sends over some awesome questions that he's pulled from the Rent Prep for Landlords Facebook group. I ask him those questions, and then Andrew answers them. It's pretty simple.
It's pretty fun. I enjoy it.
You ready, Andrew? You ready for this?
I am ready.
Okay, I'm going to show it on the bottom of the screen here. So this first topic, we are talking about low credit score due to a student loan. So this just came into the Facebook group recently, I think yesterday. And Lenny had asked, she said she has a low credit score. Not her, but for an applicant. She said it's the first applicant in weeks that actually has a job, doesn't smoke or have pets, but her credit score is 575. She has 27 unpaid student loans and nothing else. So she was wondering if she makes $49,000 a year, which she did confirm, it's a job she's been working at for 5 years. What do you do? I mean, she really wants a tenant bad, but didn't want to go below the 650 threshold. You know, should she check bank statements? I'm about to call the prior landlord. Thanks for your advice. I mean, what would you suggest in the situation?
Well, first off, 650 seems high. I mean, you might know more than I would. I use a 620. I feel like a lot of people in the industry use a 620. Are you seeing a lot of people in that 650 range, or?
It really depends. I mean,
everybody's so specific about what they want.
We get this question on like what the average renter's credit score is, and it's actually very hard to say because the average home buyer's credit score is very easy because you have all the data. But the data that we look at is based on the data of landlords who actually run background checks. So it may be landlords who run background checks or tend to be in lower, income areas, higher income, but I know it's going to kind of throw the data off. But I do know that your, I just looked this up, but your average home buyer credit score is going to be higher than 650, but it's going to be around like 670
670 something. 673, I think, is the last statistic that I heard.
Yeah, and it varies a lot state by state and obviously zip code by zip code. There are resources you can find out where the average credit score is by zip code too.
Yeah, actually, I was just going to mention that. We did that when we were looking at some of our stuff up in Lockport. Lockport tends to be a little bit lower income area. And I shouldn't say that. There's only pockets of it that are. But when I was looking at Lockport as a whole, that was one of the things that we were considering was, do we need to have a different credit standard in this area? And we went and found that that coverage map that shows you what the given zip code, what the given credit score, average credit score is in a certain zip code. And that was kind of what we used to base our decisions. So that's a handy map if you can look, and you can just Google it. It's not hard to find it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, I'm not really saying something really intelligent here when I say this, but a renter's credit score is going to be lower because they're just not going to have, for the most part, they're not going to have mortgage payments on there. A lot of times, a lot of renters tend to be younger if they are somebody who's going to end up buying later. So given a little bit of wiggle room, I think you make a good point that maybe 650 is a little high, especially given the fact that she said she's having a lot of bad applicants, which tells me that maybe it is a lower income area.
It's possible,
without knowing all the details.
So, well, let's get into her question a little bit more, I guess. All right, where do I want to start? First off, student loans are the devil. I just want to throw that out there. I actually just finished refinancing my student loans last week, rather. Student loans, man, they are. There's really no good way for me to describe student loans. Student loans are essentially indentured servitude for the next however many years it takes you to pay them off.
Yeah.
So when I look at somebody that's got a bunch of,
I feel like it's having a mortgage on a rental, but it doesn't always necessarily return cash flow.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and Eric, because you're friends with me on my personal Facebook account as well as on the business account, every time I have an opportunity to push people towards the trades, I do, because I just feel like college isn't right for some people. But we're so far off track right now. Student loans being what they are, a 575 credit score is low. I get the impression that the student loans are not being paid on, either because they're in deferment or they're just not making payments on them. one of the things that you should keep in mind, if they're not making payments on them, eventually the student loan company will get fed up with that and will actually take a portion of their paycheck. They actually have that ability with student loans. You can't discharge a student loan in bankruptcy. Basically, the only way out of a student loan is death. Death or paying it off. Those are the only two ways to get out of a student loan. So if they're not paying on their student loans, that's something that you should weigh into, because that's going to be an issue when eventually the student loan company just puts a hold on their paychecks and stuff like that. Yeah. If it's a situation where maybe they're just coming out of deferment, they're just starting to pay them or something like that, you should be able to see a little bit of history there. But I mean, a 575, I can tell you, if you're paying your student loans and if that's the only debt on the credit report, if you're making payments, you shouldn't have a credit score that low. So it sounds to me like there's something more to that. That being said, if the income works out, if you can make sense of the student loan situation, and depending on your state laws, I would do either a double security deposit or like a first, last, and security, just to kind of offset some of the risk there, assuming everything else on the tenant checks out.
Okay. Yeah. So basically, if you think this person has good income, they've been pretty stable at their work, and you can verify that, just maybe do the double security deposit as you mentioned.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Cool. Let's move to the next question. This one's a little bit different than your
a little ghost emoji.
Yeah. I'm glad you noticed. This came from Fran a couple days ago, and she said that she has a question for landlords and tenants. Have you ever rented out a house purported to be haunted? If so, do you enlighten the applicant or leave them in the dark? I like her choice of words there. My experience is that one way or another, the dead will make their presence known. The other question is just how. If you have any experiences and or opinions on this one, let us know what happened and how you handled it. This could be fun.
Yeah. Did she mention a state or no?
No, but it says North Carolina on the profile.
Gotcha. Okay. I don't know the laws of North Carolina, so she's going to have to do a little bit of Googling. That being said, I'm not an attorney, and you should talk to yours before disclosing or not disclosing something like this. In New York, and I know I fed you some of the notes that I wanted to touch on this question, so you may have to feed them back to me here. In New York, if an owner thinks a house is haunted but hasn't told anyone it's haunted, I don't believe they have a duty to disclose. If they think the house is haunted and they tell everybody in the neighborhood that they think the house is haunted, you probably have a duty to disclose.
Okay.
If you think the house is haunted and you sell ghost tours, or if Ghost Chasers comes, or whatever that TV show is, comes and does an episode at your house, you're going to have to disclose. That's one of those things in New York that basically the way the law is written is the more you think it's haunted, the more people you've told. If you've generated a revenue off of it, the more likely you are to have to disclose that the house may or may not have paranormal activity inside of it, which is kind of interesting. And then also led me to look up some of the other stuff. So, for instance, in New York, you don't have to disclose a murder, a homicide, a suicide. None of that has to be disclosed in New York. Death inside the property does not have to be disclosed in New York. And I think you got to refresh my memory on the methamphetamines.
Well, you have also HIV/AIDS status of a previous.
Oh yeah, HIV/AIDS status does not have to be disclosed.
And you also don't have to disclose if a house was used to manufacture meth in New York when renting or selling.
And that one kind of surprised me, to be honest with you, because you would think that that's something that they would want disclosed, but from what I found online, that's not the case.
I would imagine, though, like the problem with the meth rentals is the residue that's on the walls can get, especially children, very sick. So if children are going to get sick because of, there wasn't a proper cleanup after a meth tenant, then I would definitely think the landlord would be on the hook for that.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. In my life before I got into real estate, I was involved in the fire and EMS service, and I'd taken a couple of courses on methamphetamine and recognizing like a clandestine methamphetamine lab and stuff like that. I mean, you can literally make this stuff in a 2-liter bottle. And some of these bigger operations that people have going, they basically turn the house into one giant hazmat situation. The whole house has to be really stripped down. And when I say stripped down, I mean gutted right to the studs in some instances. Everything has to be treated, and then the house has to be rebuilt. And even in some instances, that may not be enough. You may be in a full demolition situation, depending on how big the operation and how long it's been going on and stuff like that. Meth is some scary stuff.
Yeah.
It's such a volatile chemical when they're creating it, and they don't seem to realize just how volatile it is until it blows up in their face and creates a big issue in the neighborhood. So
Yeah,
it's a scary situation.
We had a landlord give us a call at rent prep office, and she had a garage with a apartment above it, and it blew up. And she was this older lady, and she was real shook up, didn't know what to do. And I don't know why. I think she read an article on our website about meth labs and rentals, and gave us a call. And Steve talked to her for a while, but
Right.
yeah, there's a good reason to screen your tenants.
Yeah, for sure. That's one of those things. You really don't want a tenant who's making meth in your apartment.
No.
If Jesse Pinkman comes up to you and says, "I want to rent your apartment," you should probably tell him no.
If he wants to pay with straight cash or whatever he would say, right?
Yeah, right. If he's walking around and he's got a big bottle of chili pea with him.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move to the third and final question. So this one came out from California, and this person's renter said that they were not going to pay rent or withholding some rent because a repair is not done, even if she had been not on top of it to get it fixed. So the situation is the heating being broken is what I'm going through. The tenant informed me that it was broken, and I had my warranty company and send someone. That someone from the heating company said it's not broken, it's just dirty. Sounds like, warranty company not wanting to fix something. So
exactly.
She sent someone to clean it. The cleaner said not dirty, it's broken. So had the warranty company send for a second opinion. They found the problem, so they thought, and long story short, it's been over a month and the heater is not fixed. So I'm doing my part to get it fixed, and the renter decides it's not fixed and I'm holding half the rent and wants the month prorated. Being that I did not refuse to get it fixed, it's just taking longer than expected because of numerous parts being ordered to be replaced. Can he hold the rent?
All right, so there's a couple different pieces to this puzzle here. First of all, warranty companies are trash. There have been several people who have asked on the Rent Prep group about home warranty companies, and pretty consistently, myself and Bill Kaiser, without a doubt, you'll find the both of us on those threads just bashing warranty companies because they never seem to want to cover anything that's supposed to be covered under the home warranty after charging you a small fortune for the warranty. And they take forever to get anything done. We had a situation where we had a refrigerator that was going bad. We had a home warranty company in place on that particular rental, and they told me they couldn't even send somebody out to look at the refrigerator for like a full week. Yeah. And this is a fridge that's dying. I finally ended up calling our appliance repair guy. He went out, took a look at it, was able to get it back up and running the same day. So then we tried to take that guy's invoice, our appliance repair guy's invoice, and submit it to the warranty company. Maybe they'll pay it on the back end. And they basically said, "Oh, he's not an approved vendor. We're not going to pay this invoice, blah, blah, blah." Home warranty companies are worthless. When it comes time for a renewal, don't bother. Just find your own tradesman that you can know and trust and work with those guys. You're going to be way better off than screwing around with one of these home warranty companies.
Okay.
That being said, we'll move into part 2 of the question. Most states, and I know New York is one of them. I don't know what the laws are in California because it's a completely different climate than New York. Most states have temperature guidelines that you have to be within. So in New York, for instance, I believe it's anytime the outside temperature is under 55 degrees overnight, you have to provide heat that's capable of heating the home to 65, 68. Don't quote me on that. You can definitely Google it. But there's a standard there. When the temperature drops below a certain point, you have to provide heat. Yeah. That being said, the home warranty company doesn't care about the plight of a landlord. If the home warranty company is having trouble getting the thing fixed, my recommendations are, number one, provide some source of supplemental heat, whether it be like a plug-in oil-filled style radiator, the ones that you and I talk about all the time. I keep a stockpile of those things. We have 120 doors, so we use them pretty frequently. But even if you had just 2 or 3 of them, pick them up at the end of season from Home Depot or Lowe's and just keep them on hand. It's a nice little self-insurance policy to just have those available when the time comes and you really do need them. I would say a month to get a repair done on a furnace does seem like an exorbitantly long period of time.
Well, I think it's one of those things
It's
where she probably feels trapped because she's got this warranty
right.
company that
Yeah.
they're kind of how slow they're going, but to
Yeah,
the renter that
exactly.
doesn't matter, right?
Right,
Because
exactly. And
you
you
don't have
and
to
you have
come
a
in.
legal obligation to the renter
Yeah.
at the end of the day. So I would say stop screwing around with a warranty company. Just have your own technician come out and get the thing fixed and back up and running.
Mhm.
And then tell your home warranty company that you want them to pay the invoice and see if you can convince them to, because obviously they're not servicing your needs as a warranty company. And in turn, you're not servicing the tenant's needs as a landlord. So ultimately, the responsibility for heat does fall on the landlord in an instance like this, I would think. So
Okay.
again, double check, check California law. Just do a quick Google to see what the standards are for when you need to provide heat. But I would say a month is way too long to have a unit sitting there without heat, especially when it's occupied, depending on what the climate is. So, I mean, we're only
Yeah.
working with some of the info there, but that's kind of my feedback on it.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's good feedback. So
Mhm.
before we sign off on today, just wanted to say thanks to Jennifer Coon. She has loved these episodes, so I just threw
Oh,
that
that's
up on the
great.
screen. Yeah, and yeah, we'll keep on doing them. And yeah, Andrew, thanks for sending over the questions and answering these. And if you do have any questions and you're in the group, feel free to tag Andrew
Mhm.
or myself. And yeah, that'll be the easiest way for us to make sure they end up in the next episode. So Andrew,
Absolutely.
thanks for answering these questions as always.
Thank you.
All right. Well, you have a good week, and I'll catch you next week.
Sounds